We actually got to see you at Truckfest. How was that playing there?
Oh, cool. Yeah, that was really fun. We apparently had, I don't know if this is a rumor or not. I mean, you just never know these days, but apparently Tom York was there. So we're all like, it's the kind of thing that you would never picture him sort of going to as a punter. But for that reason, would be very Tom York.
Yeah, exactly.
So we enjoyed ourselves on stage. It was I think that's one of the last festivals that has the great backstage, where it's like, it's just a free for all, and there's guests everywhere, and there's like people coming in and out of your dressing room, and you're like, who are you? Can I have a beer? And it's like, because there's so many of them to choose from now, British festivals, but that one seems to have kept its, I guess, laid back attitude to security.
In the nicest possible way.
Tell us about it. We were there in the backstage. Yeah. It was just chaos. Everyone wandering around. There was but there wasn't. I didn't really see many yellow high-vis jackets. I felt like we wandered in. We took Joe's car next to fucking Sam Fender's tour bus, and he's got this little
2009 Fiat Punto parked next to Sam Fender's tour bus at one point, which sums up what security is like.
So Sam Fender doesn't have a 2009 Fiat Punto.
No, that's ours. Actually mine. Everyone thought it was his and kept trying to get in it, and I was like, no, guys,
full back, it's ours.
That would be a good conversion, wouldn't it?
It would. I did try and offer him a swap, but he wasn't up for it. Funny.
Next time, he was great though, right? He was.
He's incredible.
He was quality.
Yeah, he is incredible. I mean, it just sounds. You could close your eyes and you could be listening to the album on headphones, couldn't you? Like, he just sounds exactly the same, which is impressive.
That is what people kind of shoot for these days. I think in live performances is they want to hear the sprinkles and all the other bits and bobs. And if you don't have all the other bits and bobs as a live band, then you don't sort of stand out on a festival lineup. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. But he's got a massive army now, hasn't he?
Huge.
It's unbelievable. Just watching everyone there, it's almost like instantly the album's become a bit of a cult classic, hasn't it?
Yeah, big time, and deserves it for sure.
Yeah, it's great for like music, I think, for us, like, especially obviously we do like indie music and like guitar music, alternative music podcast. I think having someone like that topping charts and being like one of the most popular artists in the country, it's difficult to do nowadays when, like, I don't know, there's a lot of
hip hop and
drill and rap and like it's the biggest thing. So to kind of be the biggest artist pushing through that, I think is like, it's great because it kind of leads the way then for similar artists, which is only a good thing, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like he's a proper, he's almost like a working class legend now. And I feel like you've not, over the last maybe 5 years really, we've not really had a proper indie band that's like a proper working class geezer. Yeah, you know what I mean, I think that's it's quite a nice frontman attitude. I quite like it.
Yeah, I wonder if that is linked to politics. I mean, for a long time we haven't had a kind of the antithesis to and that's not saying that he's a political artist, but I guess now we're seeing in politics there's so much of, you say working class, but it's basically becoming and let's not talk about politics, but it's all linked, man. It's all, you think about things now sort of feeling like they're becoming a class war. I wonder if that's, there's definitely a parallel between art and the state of affairs.
Yeah, that's interesting though, because I feel like that link between politics and music has become less so. In our lifetime, I feel like it's quite a bit in 70s, 80s, 90s. It was music was directly linked with what you wore and your political thoughts. You then listened to that music that fit that, and it was all together. Whereas I've never really felt that. I think then maybe that is coming back a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's with the rise of social media, you start seeing that now a lot of the political and the surrounding stuff that happens in life that's not necessarily about the socioeconomic situation is coming from influencers and entertainers, which initially the only people that were really celebrities in that period of time were artists and musicians. They were the ones that really shone in the limelight. Now it's every man and their dog.
Yeah,
it's like, do you know what I mean? It's like Jake down the road who's got 50,000 subscribers is now being seen by like millions of people on a short form video.
But that worries me because that makes me think like, where's the power? Like, are people being mobilized on social media who are outside of the mainstream narrative? Are they being mobilized because basically they don't have a voice?
Yeah.
Like, that's what makes me worried about the kind of situation. But it does feel like we're living through a very strange period in the history of politics where it's just, and music and the correlation between those two things, because I do hope it's making that. I do hope that people will brush up against it a bit closer. I don't personally believe the Kooks are the right sort of band to politicize, because we have great political bands in the fray. But and also you are kind of dividing your audience. But then if the audience is kind of, if it's not a 50-50 divide amongst the people, and there is just a general movement of discomfort and fury, then we do need a voice to capture that. But yeah, let's not talk about politics.
Yeah, I mean, probably I was going to say, this has been a great intro to a podcast. Yeah. My God,
sorry.
Welcome back, team. Welcome back to the Scratch Record podcast. We are joined today with Hugh Harris from the Kooks. How are we, mate?
Good. Yeah, I'm
brilliant.
Very well. I feel invigorated after my weekend.
What did you get up to?
I say I went camping. It was kind of more
glamping.
Well, I want to stay away from that word. I'm going to go with wild living.
Wild living. I love that as a term.
It's not like, I am by no means a happy camper. I don't have a Leatherman knife. I don't know how to pitch a tent. I just kind of winged it. But I think there's kind of, I was thinking about it this weekend. First of all, I just wanted my daughter to experience nature, because she's a London girl and she does get out to the countryside sometimes, but it's like Surrey, which is not, Surrey's a bit like, I always think, it's like someone's tried to tidy up the countryside.
Yeah. It's not very rugged, is it? Sorry.
No, it's not wild. It's not nature. And I've always thought, there's kind of two schools of wild living. There's like, obviously the Bear Grylls style, which is hardcore. And he's the kind of person who would, help you survive. You would live. He would get you out and you would survive. I think myself, I'm definitely more in the Ray Mears camp, which I don't know if you know him, but when I was a kid, he would just be sort of fermenting berries and kind of spit roasting boar. And I think that's kind of more my scene than the kind of extreme. So I just kind of, I bought like quite a nice tent and we just went out to a campsite, myself and my daughter, and we just lit some fires, went swimming in a river that we couldn't get back out of, which amazing and terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's that element of, obviously our lives weren't in danger, but it's that element of hazard that makes it fun. And that's where I'm at. I'm kind of just winding down from that.
That's nice though. I would think that's the great part. Like, it's great to experience nature and everything, but it's also nice to be able to charge your phone and sort of have a poo somewhere that's not a big hole somewhere, isn't it? Like, you can do both. I think that's the best way to do it. Like, even one night at Truckfest when we camped, and it's like everyone's phone died.
Yeah,
it was a massive key for the shower. It was one night. We woke up the next morning, like I felt like Bear Grylls, and I'd been in a desert for 2 weeks. It's like, what do you?
Yeah, that was the 18 pints of Guinness.
So. Yeah, it didn't help. It didn't help. But you want a few amenities, I think.
Yeah, Yeah, I quite enjoyed showers.
Yeah, you had a shower. Didn't you?
I did. Trap myself.
I remember I went to ages ago. We played at Ben Kassim, and a lot of my school friends came out. And this was probably around the time when I was maybe 18. They flew out to Spain, and I saw my friend Luke from school after the first day of camping, and he said that he was telling me about his shower experience, and it was a kind of shared shower in the camping area, and everyone was sort of like it's 2/3 British, that festival.
Okay.
It's like a big destination festival holiday place, Brits abroad, and he said that he was describing like his experience in the shower, how everyone was sort of like quite coyly showering, you know. I mean, you'll get one guy who's just like, fuck it, and just being.
Can't point the one out.
It's me. That would be me.
But most of us are kind of just getting it out.
That would be me.
In and out. Whereas I'm there like chatting and having a bad.
But he said that one guy just started whistling. Can't take my eyes off of you.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, like, people started to join in, and then by the end of the sort of verse, it was like the whole shower room and girls next door were like, da, 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 like a scene from a musical or something.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, brilliant.
There's nothing to settle the shower nerves than breaking out into joint song.
It's jazz. You need those jazz hands, man.
Yeah,
Jazz hands, man.
100%. Lovely. Okay, well, we're glad you're good. We've normally been jumping into a few quick-fire questions recently just to kind of like get to know the guest a little bit and have a bit of fun. So they're a little bit random, but bear with us and I guess answer as quick as you can and we'll see what comes out.
Okay.
Do you have a phobia?
Yes, I'm afraid of heights. Like, but it's a kind of rational phobia because you could die if you fell.
Yes,
I think that's a fair phobia.
Yes, I'm behind that massively. It doesn't, no, not really a phobia. Like that, sometimes you just shouldn't be that high up. Like you just shouldn't be up there.
I just can't because falling. I mean, the panic that you're going to feel if, like, you know, you're close to a cliff face. There's a period of time at which you're falling and you know you're going to hit, and I just can't mentally even imagine that. So that's my fear. I'm not afraid of death. The impact would be fine.
No problems with the absolutely crushing death at the bottom. The fall is the issue.
Fine with that. It's the fall. Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh,
okay.
What's the worst movie you've ever seen?
Matrix, the latest Matrix.
Oh, I've not seen it.
I've not seen it. I heard so many poor reviews from it that I didn't even bother.
It's like it's tricky, man. It's tough because I mean, I love that franchise and I love him as an actor, Keanu Reeves, and I love the idea of simulation theory and all that comes with that. But it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, almost. Really? Trouble with it because bad films can be so bad that they're good. They just need to push through. Like Room and things like that. Like they're so bad that they get a cult following and they're actually lovably bad. But it didn't quite push through to so bad it's good. It's just so bad it's bad.
Right, team, sorry to interrupt the podcast. It is only being interrupted by us, so it's a little bit strange. We're sponsoring ourselves this week, but we thought we'd do an ad read for Town Takeover, the indie music festival that we are putting on September 24th in Northampton. It's going to be an unbelievable day of indie music. We've organised some big bands like Bilk, Coversets and Second Thoughts, as well as nearly 30 other bands, I think, now that are playing on the lineup. It's an all-day event, 3 o'clock till about 1 a.m. with the after-party ticket. And I think if we do say so ourselves, we have created one of the best indie music festivals we've seen, and certainly one of the best things Northampton's ever seen. So
yeah, definitely. I think it's one of them festivals that now it's going to be a start for a lot of things coming. So if you support this first one, it's only got one way to go and it's up. So make sure you're getting a ticket, £20 at the moment on tsrp.co.uk.
Yeah, that is pretty much it. Get a ticket, get involved. Early birds have sold out and there was quite a lot of them, so ticket sales are going, so if you want to be there, we do really encourage you to get on in advance. It will also just help us to keep a lid on where the festival's going and make sure our budgets are going well, because that's the most important thing. So support us, support Northampton, support new music, and grab a ticket now, and we promise it will not disappoint.
And if you want a ticket, that is again tsrp.co.uk. The tickets are all there. If you go on the buy ticket section, it's a drop-down bar. It leads you to the page, all the events that we're putting on. At the moment, it is just Town Takeover, but there is also going to be some more events coming on. So make sure you sign up to the mailing list as well as buying a ticket for the new event. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Yeah.
It's just a shit film.
It sounded like it just tried to be like an action movie rather than like a Matrix movie. It was just like putting shit in for no reason. It was a bit like, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
But
I just don't understand with it, because there would have been a writing table and there would have been investment, there would have been all sorts. And I don't know how, I mean, who are these people? I don't understand it. Anyway.
we'll hunt them down.
What's the best number?
Well, 7 pops into my head, but that's the luckiest number. My favourite number is 4.
Okay.
I used to count stairs in 4s when I was a kid as a kind of OCD thing.
Mental.
Oh, wow.
And most staircases have 24 steps in them. I don't know if you knew this.
I didn't know that.
Funny enough, that's not something that comes on my radar that often, actually.
I've been up I've counted a lot of flights of stairs. There's something to do with, there's a kind of ratio of like ground floor to first floor.
Okay.
It's like a step there's an industry standard step.
Yeah.
And most homes have about 24 steps in
That feels like a lot when I think about it. I would have guessed less if you said guess how many stairs are in your staircase.
This is an unbelievable TikTok.
Yeah. It does. It depends, but you can skip. I mean, I would skip like the first 2. So
yeah.
I would count in a really odd way as well. So it would be 4 4s are 65, 26 was. So I would try and do them in. So I'd skip the first 2 and then go for a 4. Actually,
Whoa!
So it makes
Right.
the first 6 would be done in a kind of broken down
2
like
sections.
that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like we all have these crazy things growing up, and that was one of my.
That was yours. 4. I like it.
Fair
That's a good
enough.
answer.
What's your go-to drink at a pub?
Tequila and soda and lime, fresh lime.
Wow.
Tequila and soda and
Very
lime.
interesting. I would like. I absolutely love tequila. I'm addicted to
You've
it.
never mixed
but
it,
I've
though?
never drank it as a like actual mixer to just drink.
Get
That's-
that lime in there, man. It's delish. And
Wow.
calories, man. It's
Yeah.
yeah, you're losing weight.
So not cordial. It needs to be fresh lime, not lime
Fresh
cordial.
lime. Fresh lime. Yeah. And
Okay.
shit ton of it.
I might have a couple of those tonight. Actually. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not going to be nice to kick. We're going to the Black Prince, Joe.
Yeah, true. It's not gonna be the highest quality.
Like, we're going to a pub venue in Northampton. It's going to just be like.
Let's give it a chance.
We have tequila on our rider when we do shows, and before
Amazing.
each show we put on the song Tequila.
Very good. Very good. Is that where your lyrical inspiration comes from?
And we all do the tequila shot together, and it's
Nice.
a kind of bonding thing. But it has to be nice, drinkable, because it can be disastrous.
Tequila
it
can be horrible.
fucking horrible.
I've thrown
So
up the
bad.
last 5 times drinking.
Yeah,
tequila.
you've become very pathetic, haven't you?
I have, yeah. To be honest, yeah, because I stick to Guinness. Guinness is like my go-to, and I'll stay on Guinness most of the night, and I'll be okay-ish. But like as soon as the tequila comes out, every single time I go, it's not going to happen this time. I'll be fine. So we used to drink it.
It's
loads.
always my fault.
And it's
Like,
always
Elliot,
your
you're
fault
going to do
because
one.
Joe just drinks tequila, like Guinness and tequila.
Yeah.
So he's like, go on, take a tequila shot. And I'm like, no, I'm going to throw up. And he was like, no, take one. So every single time I take
Throws
it,
up.
I try and chase it, and I go, right, I'm back in 5 minutes, lads. See you in a bit.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how does the Guinness thing work when you're at a festival?
We
struggle.
We bring cans in. If we're backstage. Yeah.
What do you think the Fiat Punto was full of?
Yeah, we just bought in like 30 cans of Guinness.
But we do. Do you know what we actually drank at Truckfest? This is quick. This is the slowest quick fire questions ever. We always do this.
Sorry.
No, it's our fault. The peach. What's the brand called? What we were drinking? Jube. It begins with a J.
Jubal
Jubal beer, and they have like a peach one, a watermelon one. They had their own stand at Truckfest. And the peach version of that was lovely.
I'd gone
Did enjoy
past
that.
tasting,
Yeah,
but I needed something that was not going to give me an unbelievable
fizzy, yeah.
headache.
And then it did anyway. So.
And it did anyway. And I woke up, I thought I could be shot between the eyes. So,
Next one.
What fictional character is most similar to you?
There's quite a few people. I've been told that I resemble the love child of two actors, but who have played fictional characters, which is Will Ferrell, one, and Paul Dano, that's very Dano, who played the Eli in There Will Be Blood, and Count Bazookoff in War and Peace. He was in Little Miss Sunshine as well.
Okay, if we remember to do this, we'll edit pictures of both these people up. So it looks good. But
yeah, I'm like, basically
love child. I like that.
But then they're actors, so I think a fictional character, Willy Wonka, probably.
Nice, that's a good answer.
I like that. Who would yours be?
I've no idea.
I think I'm very Sully from Monsters Inc.
You are. We've had this before. You're very Sully, and I'm quite Mike Wazowski.
I completely see it. Yeah.
That's not a good thing, I don't think. I don't know. He's a nice bloke, isn't he, Sully?
I've never met him, to be fair. Yeah. That's a lie. I have. That is a lie. There is a picture of me and Sully.
There
you are.
Turns out, doesn't he turn out good or something? They always do.
Yeah.
Just don't know they're doing bad, and they just need love. I mean, according to Disney.
Yeah. Same story over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to get back to you if you don't. I can sit here for ages.
What's the first thing you grab in the morning?
It's my phone, obviously.
Yeah,
we're all the same. We're all the same.
I mean, that could have. There's many other.
There are. This is why it's a good question.
Very good question. Yeah.
Phone is a very good PC answer that people tend to go for. I don't believe you, but you can say
it. Have you ever stolen anything?
Yes, I have. Yeah, the last thing I stole was a spoon from the Ritz, because I went there for my birthday for afternoon tea, as you do.
Nice.
Of course.
Well, yeah.
And I was talking to my manager for some reason during my birthday tea. I got a call from my manager and decided to take it, which is really not cool of me, considering I was on a date. What an asshole.
So much self-reflection happening now.
Yeah, this is the good therapeutic process. And he collects spoons. He collects spoons.
Okay.
Our manager, and he asked me to steal one, and I said, okay, I'll give it a go. And I did. And I'm
nice
regretting it because I actually own it. I haven't given it to him yet.
It's just there. You're just hoarding stolen goods.
Yeah.
So you went on a date and then you took a phone call from your manager and stole a spoon and then left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Reflection. I'm not the greatest of guys I thought I was.
Oh my god.
Sequence of red flags.
And who's your biggest inspiration?
David Bowie, I think, is incredibly inspiring just because of the corners of art that he touched and the corners of people that he touched, which sounds wrong, but let's stick with it.
Allegedly, yeah.
He was like a sort of father figure to so many innovators and artists, and I think that's really missing from a lot of people, who we see as male idols at the minute. You don't get a lot of kind of paternity, I guess is the word for like a superstar, and that was his edge, was that he was incredibly supportive and funny and silly but kind, but himself, like brutally himself. And that's that's the most inspiring thing about him, and he's a rarity for sure.
Wow, that's a really good answer.
Very good answer.
Superb. I mean, I feel like we literally have infinite things we could talk to you about. I don't know what you want to start with.
Let's start from the start. So,
good place to start.
Great place to start.
Let's go backwards.
Let's start from now and finish at the start.
Let's go from now to the future and
good idea. Just pretend.
And then go back.
Back to the future. Wait, that's been done.
We might get copyright strike for that.
Yeah. Okay, let's go from the start. So we were sort of doing our little bit of research and reading about it, and I found the start of the band really interesting. I bet you have told a lot of these stories a lot of times, but so we won't go through like the exact story, but I think we pinpointed a couple of bits that are interesting, and mainly the fact that you signed with Virgin Records like 3 months after becoming a band, and that kind of stood out as like, that is, you know, the world we work in now, and sort of like all these bands we speak to, it takes people years to get near to a record deal. So to sign one that quickly, was there a lot of like decision making in that? How did it come about? Did you kind of talk about how early it was to sign such a big record label, or
casting couch? No, I'm kidding. Basically, I think at that time, like, Britain was looking for a response to what was happening in America with the Strokes. And we'd only sort of just tapped into bands like, the Libertines and Franz Ferdinand, and the Killers, who were American, but started here mainly. So the labels were really hungry for indie bands. And we formed in response to the Strokes. You know, there wouldn't be us or any of the sort of noughties bands without the Strokes, for sure. And that's how music works, because there were Strokes without the New York Dolls, and there would be no New York Dolls without Lou Reed, and there would be no Lou Reed without blah, blah, blah. And it's like, obviously the gorgeous chain of command. And we kind of signed after 3 months in a way, because one, we got lucky with our demo falling into the right hands of Mark Nicholson, who was part of our management team. And he was very intrigued, and he was into our citations as our influences, which was Reed and Lou Reed and someone else. We just wrote down a load of influences on the front of the CD, and that's why he listened to it. But 3 months in, getting signed, it certainly didn't feel like it. It felt like we had been sort of, we turned it into like a 9 to 5 day job. We were in the studio every day rehearsing, and that was really how we got ahead a little bit in Brighton, because we were just super nerds. We were just complete and utter nerds. We would just breathe and ingest music and just listen to records over and over again, and just completely assimilate these successful, great guitar, drum, songwriting people from the history of music. And so we were very quick to find kind of not our sound, but a mesh of something which was kind of good-ish. And the demo was decent, and it came along at a really potent time for live music. So,
very interesting. We found that it was interesting that you chose to kind of focus on songwriting and touring over that first album, and we think that's like, I don't know, like bands wouldn't necessarily do that now. I think it seems easier to just say we're just going to get this first album out, like you've just got a record label and all this sort of stuff. So what did the record label think about that, and what was your thought process behind that?
Well, they were like, it was a different time, so development deals were normal, and you wouldn't have Dark Side of the Moon without a sort of development of Pink Floyd, and these days it's not like that at all, because I think you need to be viral before you get signed, which is a real shame. But for our label support, they would throw down 40 grand for us to go and tour support. There was money. There was actual money in the industry.
Mm.
This is before streaming and Napster, before Facebook, before anything.
Yeah.
So there was a consensus that the only way to gain fans was to just go and get them. Go to Paris, it wasn't even Paris. It would be like Châtillon, like provincial, some kind of dirty club in like the Menilmontant or something like that, or like Leipzig. And you'd be like, why am I in fucking Leipzig? And like getting pissed in Safeway's car park and like pushing each other around in trolleys. And I'm just like in a strange place. But it was hard work, and we got our fan base, and we had a street teamer, Bob, this great guy who would just like get people's emails and sign them up and tell them about our after shows, and we would have these kind of crazy parties, and we would have these just a fizz. We would just create a fizz a physical fizz and a buzz wherever we went, and the show was the kind of centerpiece to it. That was the old school viral, and now it's different. So different isn't necessarily bad. It's just it's kind of easier, but it's also harder now.
Yeah,
it's we speak about it quite a lot, don't we? Like, I mean, that to me sounds much more interesting and how
enjoyable.
I'd like to discover music compared to now. Like, we try and discover a lot of music, and it's about finding things on TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, and all this sort of stuff. And people are kind of then writing music to be catchy for 20 seconds rather than to be a big piece of music that means a lot and has a lot of thought behind it. It's kind of like, right, what's going to fit into the TikTok algorithm? And that, to me, is, as you say, is sad. It is not the same. And people gig off the back of numbers that they see online, not going out to gig to gain followers. You almost have to have the followers first, which doesn't seem like the right way around, does it?
Well, we noticed that with quite a lot of people. Like, a lot of times we've found bands where we've gone and just watched the support, and the support has been unbelievable. So therefore we've gone and followed up with them and kind of watched their growth from that. And I think it's almost like a more rawer way of finding music. And I think this TikTok algorithm stuff, what really works for some, especially think it does work really well with like hip hop and like the Doja Cats and the Central C's and stuff like that, because you can make a really catchy bar or a really catchy chorus section or a C section that really does take an audience, and someone will know exactly all the words to that because it will just gravitate to so many different pools of the world because the lyrics are so catchy, and it doesn't necessarily have like a deeper musical meaning. It is like, what's the most outrageous thing we can say? Well, it's like the whole Central C stuff. His new track Doja Cat, where he's on about, where he says all this stuff that's just so fucking like, I can't comprehend how he's passed that through his team about what's the line? It's like, I'm not. How can I be homophobic? My bitch is gay.
Yeah,
that's like that has gone so fucking large, and I'm like, who's passed that? How is that? Who's gone? I know what we're gonna do. This is fucking brilliant. This is going viral. I can't get my head around it.
I don't know. I think it's just theatre. To me, I find it as entertaining as outrageous or as challenging and tragic as like Shakespeare. I mean, it's literally just the music business is crying out for theatre, and that's what TikTok is. And it hasn't had it for a while, because back in the day you'd listen to a record and you would make up your own theatre in your brain whilst you heard an album, and that would be enough, and that would be gorgeous because it would be your own production, and you could be the star of it. You listen to someone singing a song, Neil Young, Old Man, or like, you could put yourself in that theatre, in that show, in the picture that he's painting. And now it's like, well, we have moving images in our pockets and we can create them ourselves. And so the music doesn't necessarily have to be as creative.
Yeah.
It can be less theatrical. It can be, because you've got this so much work happening in the visual, and you only need 30 seconds because people's attention spans because of I guess, the congestion of the amount of people trying to scream and make headway in this business, because it's the best business in the world, and there should be a place for everyone. I strongly believe there is. It just means that we have to reduce our shares in in attention span, and that's all it is. It's just like shares in a company. Like, okay, I'll reduce my stock to 30 seconds of music instead of a 3-minute song.
So here's a question, and it's another thing that we do kind of speak a lot about. Hypothetically, if the Kooks formed 3 months ago from now, do you think you'd see the same level of success as you did when you first formed if you were the same band?
Yeah, I think we would, because we've kind of, we came out and we had success because of big radio numbers like that, and that was the TikTok is the new radio. And I think we've had to modernize. I think that's what has kept us in the fray on festival bills, because our music, first of all, there's a access rite of passage with our first record. It's just, if you like guitar music, it seems to be one of those go-to, okay, listen to this, listen to that. It's like, it feels like it's kind of worked its way into the woodwork of guitar and indie rock, which is great, job done. But then it's like maintaining relevance. That's the hard thing. I believe the music would carry us if we came out 3 months ago. We released that first record 3 months ago. I think the music would still carry its weight, and I think we might even be slightly bigger, because like we are now connecting with a new fan base who are just making memories with that album. And we're losing fans who are sort of who have grown out of that. Or we started to lose fans, but they're sort of returning now. So there's a nostalgia card now.
Yes.
Coming back to the Kooks and people discovering the Kooks. So there's, I think to answer the question in a roundabout way,
perfect.
Yeah, I think we'd be fine. I think we'd be all right. I mean, I have to say that, don't I?
Yeah, but yes, and I mean, I do completely agree.
I do agree.
I think there's a reason why so many people listen. That first album in particular, obviously, like, and our age, like 22, 23, I mean, it's massive, absolutely massive. I know that's guess the time, like the ages we were at. Even so, like when it came out, we were too young to be listening to ourselves, and yet it's still like
so relevant
now. And I think interesting what you say, it might be even bigger. Like we were reading that you said about like having a lot of competition at the time with like Arctic Monkeys and, as you said, like Libertines, and how you were kind of slightly shielded by that. And I guess now that's probably less prevalent. There probably is an even bigger space to come out and go, there's not a lot else at the moment that is kind of ticking that box.
I think there's a lot of similarities between yourselves and like the band called the Rare Occasions, who we've had on here, who released a song called Notion that's gone completely fucking mental. And I think that your first album specifically, I just almost like in my head playing it through while we were talking, then you could kind of see the TikTok, like with what we were saying with TikTok and social media, like that style of music does really work with these background tracks, like Notion. Like that song has been gone on everything from gaming to anime drawing videos to people going to the beach, people going and traveling and stuff like that, and it works perfectly. And I think that style of music, what's the word? It appeals to so many audiences. It's not very like, it's not like, you see like sports team, for example, doing incredibly well, but it is a specific audience. There is, my mum's not going to sit and go, oh, I really like that sports team. I'm really enjoying their new album. Whereas like artists like yourselves and like the Rare Occasions, and that more of a, I want to say a bit more relaxing, maybe a little bit more appealing to the general audience of such, the general public.
Relaxing and appealing. Yeah. I mean, being relaxed is one of the most joyous feelings. What we want to bring people is just, joy. And
right then, team, sorry to interrupt the podcast, but we are yet again sponsored by our good friends at Photo Mafia Studios. They're a photography brand that works with lots of different people in fashion, music, artists, all the types of the creative arts that you want. They take photos, videography, and they have a really, really affordable and cheap studio hire for £25 an hour based in Northampton. If you want to get involved with them, they do a range of podcasts that they produce and they help shoot for. And if you're thinking about getting into that space, then they are the good ones to get in contact with, because they've helped us out with a few things in the past with press shots and everything like that. If you want to keep an eye on what they're doing, they have lots of update. They run exhibitions, they run art shows, they help out with lessons and upcoming bands and stuff like that. They get the gigs out there. They really do push for the Northamptonshire scene. It's really good to see, and it's really good for us lot that are also involved. They're a brilliant brand to work with. We love working with Photo Mafia Studios, and if you want to get involved with them, make sure you check out their website, www.photomafiastudios.com, and also their social media at Photo Mafia Studios. They are brilliant. And we love Photo Mafia Studios. They are a quality brand to work with. And if you want to get involved, you know where to look. They have a range of books and stuff that are on sale. So go check them out. They've got really good studio space and they are a pleasure to work with.
Relevance and interestingness. we don't, it's very, you get a bit tied up trying to think about what you want people to perceive you as, where you want to sit in the kind of cultural, and those bands are great that you just mentioned, and we're honored to be in that kind of bracket. I think our kind of ethos from the start has always just been, let's just cut the crap and just put good songs out with good musicianship. If you just stick to those guidelines, you can't really go wrong. And I think there will always be a place in people's record collections or streaming platforms or TikTok for #4Us for a little bit of kind of kookiness. And that's just our brand, and it's kind of ours, and it's not really, it's incomparable really to a lot of other indie bands, because we're definitely not as serious or as, we don't look miserable when we play on stage. Have fun, we respect and love each other. We're just friends playing music songs. And that will always be the way, and that will always be us, and that will be the reason for our continued success, I imagine.
It reminds me, we had Dan Haggis from the Wombats on, and I think it's a very similar vibe to a lot of the Wombat songs, in the sense of like
friendship and enjoyment.
It's infectious. Like, you're having such a good time on stage, and everyone just knows the words and knows the songs, and you just can't help but kind of get involved. And there'll be people who say they're massive fans, and there'll be people who say that they're not. And if you got them in a room and played kook songs, they'll all be singing. Like, there's no kind of like turning it down almost. It is very infectious. But
that's the thing. Like, I think that's also why we do better, even if we came out now, is because the TikTok vibe, it kind of deconstructs those tribalistic divisions in music, because you've got everyone on there just trying to entertain each other and just trying to escape their lives or whatever. And it's just fair game, man. Whoever you are, Gary Barlow, The Strokes, no one gives a fuck. Let's just have fun and entertain each other. And that's theatre, and that's drama, and that's where escapism happens, and that's where creativity happens.
Definitely.
I really like that.
Yeah, I like that. The Kooks you've been going for quite a long while now. One of the things we wanted to kind of get into, because obviously it's been a really long road for yourselves, and there's been a lot of ups and downs. We want to try and find what's been maybe some of the lowest points of being in a band that's had so much success.
Yeah, so many. So many. Personally, I've had all sorts of panic issues. Like, early on, I was 16, 17 in Tokyo, in a strange new place. Strange to me because it was new. And I was exhausted, like emotionally exhausted. And I just remember not being able to go on stage, and it was a big promo tour. So it was just an acoustic event. And I just felt scared, like full head of fear, kind of thing that probably these days you'd get sent home for, and it would be called, nervous anxiety or mental health issues. But back in the day, I was just taken around the corner for an ice cream and then given a pat on the back and told to get on stage for the encore. And it's like it was a different time then.
Yeah,
and that's cool. I got through it, but it was scary. I mean, we've had lots of member changes. We've had lots of people come in and out of the band, and I've always seen it as a healthy thing, just creatively, because it's nice to play with fresh people. But I'm not going to lie, it's not always been pretty. It's been, I mean, Luke walked off stage in Dallas this one time, and we were in the middle of a show. We'd just flown out a new drummer who was a brilliant drummer, a guy called Nick Millard. But he'd just learned the songs on the plane on the way over, and landed in Dallas and went straight into a gig. So obviously, I mean, he's incredible. He's a genius jazz drummer. But it was our sort of, you have this panic thing where you're like on stage, things don't quite feel the same. They feel new. Again, when something is new, it is strange. It kind of triggered Luke, and he walked off, and we had to stop the gig. And I remember outside these two like jocks. Is that the word for them? Like,
the big like meathead American.
Man, give me my fucking. You know what? Fuck you, man. You're going down. I'll just give you your money back if you want.
I've got the cash, mate.
I just got my PDs, and I was like, "Here you go. Can you just fuck off?"
If you said it like that, that's the most politest I've ever said.
So British to go back. And it's like, oh, sorry about that. Just fuck off. Fuck off.
It was great. I was fine with it because I agreed with them. I was like, yeah, that's that. I mean, it didn't suck, but it wasn't what you're used to. Fair enough.
So what was the kind of coping mechanisms in those moments? Like, did you find certain things help? Did you then have to like spend a bit of time apart or take some breaks? Or
alcohol, drugs, women.
the holy trinity.
Sounds like my time through uni.
No, I mean that's a cliche, man. Cliches are there for a reason. I think the coping mechanisms we learned early on were to be as holistic as possible instead of hedonistic. I think in a band's career, you make a decision at one point or another. Every band does. You either go, this behavior is going to destroy our band. If we don't stop this, we will end up there. And I think there's that sort of vicissitude in every band's. Yeah, we all go through it, and we had it very early on. So we have big respect towards just mental health and physical health. So coping mechanisms now, I guess, would be talking. That's the only thing to really get to the bottom of something, is to articulate how you feel about it and discuss it. And this happens with myself and Luke on a almost quasi-yearly basis, and we've been working together 20 years now. That's coming up this year.
Wow.
So it's like a sort of, I would say brotherhood, but it's not siblings thing. I have a sibling. I would say marriage, but I don't know what marriage is like, but it's probably not like this. It's a unique working relationship with someone who you love as a companion and friend and colleague, and and yeah, just having sort of check-ins, you know, just regular check-ins. I mean, how do you two?
Well, that is something that we really are. I think we're getting much better at. Like I suffer with OCD. I have done and been diagnosed over the last couple of years, sort of thing. And it's that type of thing where you learn all the like actual strategic routes of how to direct your thoughts, and because of how my brain works, very over analytical and very oversensitive and overstimulated a lot of the times. But I find that having that like partnership that is free to discuss anything without judgment, of where you can have that, like it's taken us, we've been friends now for 10 12 years now, and it's now you kind of we've built that almost relationship where we can just discuss anything about how we feel, and especially about like the anxiety and the, I guess, stresses of life, and I guess also the creative world that we now work in. It is
it's very interesting what you said. I think there's a lot of parallels to that relationship of like, it's not a sibling, we both have brothers. It's kind of different to that, and marriage kind of vibes. But as you say, it is also like we've switched from being best mates to it being a working relationship in a sense, I suppose, and making more business decisions, which is you see each other in a different way. 100%. We, it's my birthday coming up tomorrow, and we all had a load of friends round on Friday, and we got absolutely battered, and that was very different to me coming around today and saying we're recording with you, we've got to plan something and talk about it, and
business moves and stuff.
Send some emails, and that those hats of the relationship are different, and building that kind of separating the friendship from the marriage thing to the business thing to the it's a very interesting dynamic.
I think it does help that there is a bridge between all of them. I think that's something, it gives it a really strong foundation. Like, we can flick in and out of these hats within an hour. Like, we can be talking about like moves with the festival that we put on and promote, moves with that, and then next thing we're chatting about, I don't know, like my ex-girlfriend, or like, do you know what I mean? Like actual like personal things. And it's that, like, I think the foundation and having really direct bridges as our relationship and our actual functionality as a partnership, really, really much so, I think.
Well, I think it is. I think a good working relationship is you're aware of your things that you want to improve on, or things that you feel are challenges, and you become aware of them, but in a positive way. Because I mean, you say that you are over analytical or over sensitive or over, I mean, those are all great things to be too good, I'd say that those things are superpowers. Those aren't negative things. That's not you being like over the top in some way. That's just who you are. And that's once we kind of identify whom we are and what we have to offer within regard to our superpowers or our strengths, or sticking to our strengths and finding those strengths and sticking to them, and supporting each other through those, finding that kind of power. That's a good working relationship, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that we found as well, is like we are very different and we're very opposite at times, and it's like finding it works in the end. So like, and it's a lot more creative and has a lot of the ideas, and like if we weren't friends, I would have never have done any of this ever. And then I think I'm a little bit more analytical, a little bit more like kind of
logistical.
And I think maybe without that, you would have had a lot of ideas that all floated around and didn't happen. And between the two of us, it becomes, you've had a lot of very good ideas, and then I can go, okay, this is the one that actually I think could work. And then we both work together to run with it. And I think that works. And it's understanding that at times when we're maybe having a conversation, like you're probably thinking, I've got these good ideas, and you're just trying to shoot them down. And I'm sort of thinking, you chat shit about sort of starting a festival in the mood, and we can't do it, Elliot. It's not going to work. And kind of keeping level heads in those situations, so that then when we do come to that happy medium, it runs. And I think that's, I guess it must be quite similar in a band of like, there's a lot of ideas, a lot of decisions, and you have to kind of not get too like sort of emotional about a lot of it, because then you can kind of blow, and actually you're only both trying to get to the same end goal, I guess.
Well, that's it. That's exactly it. I mean, if you'll work together forever if you have a shared intention, and that's like me and Luke. And the best way of summing us up was this one time at King's Cross. We were waiting for a train to go on tour. It was just me and Luke. Everyone else had gone to get food. We had about 20 minutes. And I was like, coffee? And he was like, yeah, coffee, prep. Yeah, prep. Nice. Cool. And we both went to prep, but there was like a seated area and like a couple of like just big kind of pilasters holding up the building. And prep was yonder. And we were here. And he just went that way. And I went this way. And I was like, and we were just observing each other, just like, where the fuck are you going? Like, what the fuck are you doing? It's this way. And then, but we ended up at the same place because both ways took the same time. We just put different paths, and that's a creative relationship. But as long as you have that shared goal and that shared space at the end, it doesn't matter how you get there. And if you share that intention, then you, like I say, you work forever together.
Amazing. I really like that.
I like that. That's really good.
I'm conscious of time, and I've got another 1,000 things to ask you. So I'm going to rattle a few.
Good chat.
I did so well.
Great conversation.
Rattle through a few more. That is very fucking hard to say. Yeah, I know. We get that. You mentioned a while ago about some of these like after parties that you had, and I'm sure you've played obviously gigs all over the world. What is there a few kind of like best memories or stories from after parties or gigs or before gigs, or a few of your best kind of night out stories?
Most horrible. This is the most horrible question you can ask me. Because it immediately turns you from musician having a chat into, do you have any stand-up routine?
Yes.
Do you have an anecdote, or do you have something in your back pocket that we can?
That's exactly what I wanted to do. So that's.
I just purposely don't keep that stuff in my back pocket, because quite often you'll see like an interview with someone from a band, and they'll like whip out the anecdote.
Yeah.
You'll get into the musician, and then you'll see more interviews, and it's the same fucking anecdote. It's like I think stories and memories and funny things should be coaxed out. I think it should be harder. It should be more challenging than that. I think that's what a conversation is to me.
Yeah.
It's not a performance or like a one-sided performance. It's like I have this friend Jack, who every time I come back from tour, he's always like, so go on then, tell us a story. And I'm like, no, fucking
You'll get it when I tell you can have it.
Yeah. Talking about wellies or something, I'll, be reminded of a time. That reminds me of a time when
Yeah, I think that's interesting. It can feel a bit Graham Norton, I suppose, when they've been told this is the exact story, and he kind of goes, you have a story about clouds, and they're like, yes, I do.
Yeah, exactly. And that stuff can be, that stuff is prepped, and that stuff is, there's a lot that they leave to the couch and stuff, but no one goes on that show, blind. It's like with the answer, I've got loads. I literally can't. I can't just come up with like one thing that, like in an after show.
What was the?
I have just had a thought actually.
Yes,
but only because I mentioned Bobble, our first ever street teamer.
Yeah.
Obviously, how you used to get fans before, I guess, social media. But he organised a party on Brighton Beach for us after a homecoming show. And it was great. We had a fire. There was boxes of beer. There was just fans everywhere. Party was great. We finished. We went up the road to a house party. And basically, there was a note there from our tour manager. This is our first ever tour manager. Jeff Hall. Shit, I just named him. Fuck. Definitely.
We can bleep out. We'll edit that out.
And basically, we got to the house, and he was sort of supposed to have arranged this kind of after party, because the beach was just after the show, and then there was this like mad house party. And he left us a note. He just left us a note on the table. He said, "I'm fucking done with you. I'm off, and I'm not coming back again.
Oh my God.
If you want me, I'll be in the ocean." And next to that piece of paper was all of his clothes, like in a neat pile. And about 10 minutes later, he came in the front door just completely drenched. And the whole thing was a joke. And we were like,
oh my God.
Oh my God. How
elaborate and wonderful person I've ever met in my life. And it was at that point that I decided that I wanted to work around people in the music business.
because they're fucking mental.
They're just brilliant. They're just struggling, creative, lovely, gorgeous people. I don't know why I was reminded of that. Yeah, just because of Bubble. I mean, it's not particularly great.
No,
that's a great story.
But it's
Very
a fun
interesting.
memory.
absolutely. That's what it's about. Do you have a favorite place to visit while you were touring?
Yeah, I do. Lots. Yeah, I have like a cheat list, a cheat sheet.
Do you, for where you'd go to?
Yeah, I do the same thing. Well, there's like a routine, and I vary the routine. Like Sydney, because I used to have Christmas there with my family because my dad was Australian. So I have this routine I do there. And then Singapore, I have like, there's the Botanic Gardens there because my grandma always wanted to, she always spoke about it, but never got to visit it. So I would always visit it for her.
Oh, that's
lovely.
really nice.
And then New York, it's like a number of bars and restaurants that I just touch on, just dates and people from my past that I was in love with. And yeah, it's gorgeous. It's the same in every city. And galleries, I mean, galleries are the paintings that connect those places as well. Because touring is like, it's so stressful that you only spend a day or two in each city.
Yeah.
So I could tell you everything about Sao Paulo, like where to go out or where to get some delicious food. Nothing about the politics, nothing about the time I was there. You know, I've sometimes ended up in like kind of communist marches in like Buenos Aires, like holding a Gap bag, just like chanting along, not really
Trying to blend in.
Like it's shambolic, but the one thing that connects it all for me is the galleries, and I always just make sure I see the kind of permanent collections in these cities, and that's what fills me with just comfort. Actually, that's my comfort food, which is really pretentious.
No, it's very
Comfort food is the arts. You know,
No, that is interesting.
this interview's over. This is
Fuck, we knew it would happen at some point. No, I think that's a really nice answer. It's honestly, art is something that I've never been able
I love
to
it.
appreciate. I want to. I'd love to, and I'd like to maybe give it more of a serious go. But I don't know. I think it's something that connects with who you are quite naturally, isn't it? I think if you don't kind of fall in love with it quite early on and you appreciate it, it's just not necessarily for you. I don't know if it just doesn't fit my brain, or do you think I can go into that?
Yeah, it's like you can. There's no. I mean, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, I didn't like tomatoes until I was 9. You know, I'll never connect with a tomato.
That's true. I only started liking mayo about 5 years ago, and now I have on everything. So maybe art will follow the same trajectory.
I do think you'll see one piece of art that you'll go, that's fucking good. And it'll be like going back through, like, you know, you listen to an artist and you hear a song from them from back when they were doing demos and you go, oh, fuck, that's good. Yeah. And then you go through their whole discography from then as almost like a bit of a thing. I think there'll be something that'll light you, like the fire inside you, that'll just kind of be like, you know, for me, I have to admit, it was very modern art. I have a massive thing with like street art and like Cores and Takashi Yoto and all that lot, and that sort of group of almost like streetwear-y type of artists then has also over time led me towards looking at more classical portraits. And if I get the time when I'm in London and different cities in the UK, I'll go and visit portrait galleries, or I'll go and visit like these phenomenal pieces of. Then you go in and you think, I just am always really shocked by the sheer fucking size of these things. Some of them are, you just stand there and you're in awe that someone had just that much care to detail to build something so vast and beautiful.
Well, a lot of those guys would have teams of artists.
Yeah, true.
It wasn't just one guy, but yeah, it's. I think to appreciate all. I mean, I appreciate it all. It's like, it's the same with if I see a theatre piece that I don't like, or a band that I don't like, that's to me just as good as seeing something I like. Because if I take away from it that that's what I wouldn't do, or I wouldn't play the guitar like that, or I wouldn't use that color there, that's just as powerful. Knowing what you don't like is just as powerful as knowing what you do like. And I think getting out of, to appreciate some, like all art, is just getting out of this binary place of that's good and that's bad.
Yeah.
Fuck that off, because it's about how it makes you feel. If you think it's a pile of shit, then it's still doing its job as a piece of art, I'm afraid to say.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think that's the same with a lot of music, isn't it? Like, I've always kind of hated that criticism of anyone's music taste and things like this. You can very easily, I always just say, it's not for me, and never it's shit, because it's like, realistically, nothing is shit. It's an awful lot better than we can do. So that's what always thought. I can't fucking play an instrument, so who am I to say something is fucking like not good? It's just not necessarily striking a chord like it does.
Even shit isn't shit to some. Yeah. I mean, I once lived with a dog, a pug, who would eat shit. And this was in Soho, so there was a lot of street people, homeless people. Right. And so it would be human feces, and he fucking loved the stuff. He would like, you'd have to pick it out of his flaps.
Oh yeah, it's all bits in their face and
so there's no, it's life is just it's not as binary as that.
No, you can love shit. There's a life lesson for this podcast.
Exactly.
Lovely stuff. Well, we've got a section that we kind of do as we're wrapping towards the end of the podcast, and it's a section where we like to shout out artists and bands that we've been listening to recently that we think maybe need a little bit more press or a little bit more publicity than what they're getting at the moment. So is there anyone that you've been listening to recently that you would like to give a bit of a shout out to?
Yes, there is this band I'm slightly obsessed with, much to the dismay of my bandmates, because I put them on in the dressing room all the time, and it's kind of draining people now, but I love it. It's a band called Wisteria, and they're from LA, and it's a kind of electronic band. I don't want to say goth. I don't want to say electro goth, but I think they've been described as that.
Okay.
They're an electronic band. They've just got these wonderful kind of sweeping melodies and lyrics, which just transport me to the place I love being. They're kind of like, it's quite hip, it's quite hip music. Like, I guess not a lot of people are onto it yet, so that makes it feel certainly quite hip to me.
Yeah.
But fuck that aside, the songwriting is just wonderful. Like it's rich, and check it out. Wisteria, Wisteria.
Lovely. Thank you for spelling it, because a lot of people shout out bands and I go, they sound good, and then I try and find them to tag, and I'm like, how do you spell that? Who are they? But that's that's perfect.
Got like an @ sign in it, and
Yeah. Like Instagram's like, WX11___. I'm like, how the fuck was I?
Pointless.
Yeah, no, but I like that. That's a good one. Have you got one?
I want to shout out Uninvited, they're an artist that we've spoken about before, but they've recently released a new song called The Party Song. Absolute belter of a track, and it's a bit more of like it's not like a heavy rock, but it's a much more like indie rock inspired sort of track. They did a really cool couple of tracks in the past called Diet Cigarette and Behind the Black Door. Behind the Black Door had a massive real political push towards it and almost a bit of a political agenda, which I thought was really, really interesting, and it was really vocal about it. And these next following singles have been a lot more about the music over the political meaning behind it. But they've been having they had some really good support from the BBC recently and stuff like that. So yeah, I do think The Party Song by Uninvited is a real banger.
Yeah, no, I've heard that actually.
Yeah,
but
it's quality. Yeah, they are quality. I always just, you find these little pockets of bands that once they've released a couple of really good songs, whatever they release, you can just kind of trust is going to be decent. So yeah, Uninvited for sure.
So, I'll be honest, I think JBT's ruined new music for me for the last week or so. I've had nothing else on it apart from this new album. But one shout out has to be done, which is The Motive.
Yes.
They've released an EP, well, it would have been a few weeks ago now, but they're a band that are friends of the podcast, come on a couple of times. Really good lads, a good sort of indie pop, indie rock. It's quite sort of jangly guitars. A lot of their new stuff has like the guitar solos in two of their new songs are unbelievable. But which is nice. You don't see enough guitar solos anymore. And we've said that so many times. It's a bit of a lost art, but they're brilliant at it. And they're great lads. And they've been through quite a lot of like band member changes over the last few years. It's like every time they get a bit of momentum, they seem to have someone leave or something change. And so, yeah.
Are you sure it's not us?
Yeah. They're called The Kooks. I don't know. Anyone's heard of them? We've got a new album out. But no, their new EP is top. They're doing a lot of gigs and stuff. They're playing our festival we're putting on in Northampton.
They are indeed.
People haven't heard about that yet. So The Motive, really good.
Absolutely. Well, I've got one. Go on.
Cool story with Jamie T, because he's one of ours. He's one of our generation. We used to hang out with him and a bunch of friends back in the day on Denmark Street. There was a blues club called the 12 Bar Blues Club. And that's where he kind of started. That's where he started his fan base. And we used to jam there with a lot of friends. So we actually took him on his first ever tour.
No way.
Around the UK. Yeah, it was just him and his bass guitar and Creative Stella. And it was rowdy.
That sounds incredible. What was he like back then? As like a sort of...
Just an absolute fucking legend. I mean, sweet guy, fun, rowdy, and a class act. Sure.
Amazing. He's a genius. He's both of our dream guests, I think.
At the moment, definitely. I'd love to have him on over the next few weeks, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll text him.
If you could,
that'd be brilliant.
That would be an awful lot. That'd be amazing. But that's a cool story. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's been quite nice actually, because we're now ticking off some of the bands that we've grown up to. Like it's becoming an incredible full circle for us now. And we have our hit list and we're slowly working our way through it. Yourselves were one of them, and we're really appreciative of you taking your time and coming on with us.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. You guys got a great thing running here, and long may it live.
Thank you
so much, Hugh. Generally, really appreciate it, mate.
Absolutely. I've got one final question for you that we're going to start wrapping up the show with. And it is, what does music mean to you?
It's music will never leave you, and that's a powerful thing for me. I've been through a lot of loss, and I feel like you can lose parents, you can lose loved ones, you can lose girlfriends, you can lose relationships, you can fall out with best friends, but music will always be there. It'll always be there for you, and you only, and as well as everyone. And it's this just never ending accessible kind of bastion of support for the human condition. And once you see a reflection of what you're going through in a song, it just makes life more digestible, so that I guess something like happiness is achievable. And that's what music means to me.
That is an absolutely beautiful answer.
I think we've nailed on with that question. That question's staying. It's the first time we've done it. The question's staying.
There's a lot to live up to.
There was a lot riding
answer
on that, and that was fucking amazing.
That's a big fucking question, man.
Yeah,
it is. That's the aim.
Big answer.
Absolutely. That was amazing. Thank you very much for your time, Hugh. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Pleasure has been mine. Take care, brothers.
Take care. And if you're still listening, thank you very much for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe to the video. Leave a review and a rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you do want to subscribe over on Google Cast and Amazon Music as well, then head on over, subscribe, and let us know where you've been subscribing to recently. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you on the other side. Peace. Beautiful. Thank you, Hugh.